Hello, this is the Slo Mo Joe Timeless Poetry Show. We discuss poetry and we discuss a lot more. This is the vehicle of expression woven into words. It is the Slo Mo Joe Timeless Poetry Show. Now let me discuss a little bit about the show and who I am. The show will invite guests on where they will discuss 3 poems and we will discuss it throughout the podcast. And I am Slo Mo Joe and part of the Joseph Evaldi Network and recording at the Olk N Us Network studios. And I'm going to invite him on in his Timeless Cricket in a minute or two, and he's going to read some poems, and I'm going to read some poems, and he's a recurring guest. But first let me talk about Slo Mo Joe. Slo Mo Joe was a character that was born when I was in junior year of high school. He stuttered words just like that. However, he was developing on his form. His form was writing, which means during his chemistry class, he would write. And he loved the words. He invented his own thing called the Passage of Joe, and one thing that he wrote very much dear to him was poetry. He loved the art of poetry, he loved the art of form, and that became his muse. Without further ado, I introduce my recurring guest.
My name is Twilight Cricket, and I am an emissary from the Olk N Us Network. And I'm very, very honored to be on this inaugural podcast for poetry. Thank you for having me, Slo Mo Joe.
Thank you, Twilight Cricket.
So, Slo Mo Joe represents the emissary of the Joseph Evaldi brand, just like Twilight Cricket represents the emissary of the Olk N Us Network. And I will be reading poetry written by Richard Andrew Olkusz, who is the man behind the brand of the Olk N Us Network. One of several, but certainly the one who is the poet when considering the poetry. So I believe Slo Mo Joe has granted me liberty to read the first poem. And some of these poems may get read later, but this is a sketchy book. This is a book of sketches. This is, my safe word is bananas. It's a work in progress. But I got one of these things I can share if y'all dig it. So this is called the Etherealist Hymn. Now, Etherealist Hymn talks about another book of poetry called the Etherealist Manifesto. But that's something on the Olk N Us Network, and that's something best kept for another night. So this is Etherealist Hymn. Come walk with me, ye agents of timelessness, and pay the endless abyss no soul. We stand together in spiritual reaction, gazing up into the timeless, formless, nameless Lord's spiral. Our bridges are made of stars, the ejection of eternity. Take care that you never look down over the rails. Be not salty piles or mere vehicular meat. Be not worm food or solitary stoned ape. Instead, peer into dreams and see the windy hair of infinity. The smile of smiles brighter than fallout sun. Oh, sweet ones, do you not feel the timeless one as he passes over? He who weaves the shadows travels unseen. Fear has nothing for nothing, and if you invest your timeless attractions in such, nothing will come of it. I tell you from trial and error, from decades of ultimate solitude seeking His face. Wisdom is timeless, and the echoes of voices now departed may resound forever. No act is exclusively temporal. We are agents of timelessness. Our echoes are all there is, because beyond them everything is simply falling away. He who walked the waves may part the abyss for thee. We all must take His hand. You must believe in the Timeless One in order that those abyssal jaws taste not of blind souls. Sheep play follow the leader to slaughter or shearing alike. But all love verdant pastures and mild weather, playing in endless woods with friends forever, dreaming in endless wonderment of mentors and sweet Sophia, following the bliss into the Timeless One's dear fold, to lay at His feet with our storied treasures. Eyes have not seen and ears have not heard what the Timeless Lord brings to table for those who respect and love His ways. Fear not the abyss, my little geese. The harvest is soon to come, and then we shall be free.
Wow. I had to leave a moment of silence after that because silence is grandeur and dear.
Wow, thank you. That was Etherealist hymn, and it's still a work in progress, but you can see it's got that timeless vitality in it. So that's my first one. How you looking?
I feel like discussing it a little bit.
Oh, cool. Well,
it's like, I mean, first I want to say that it's like, just the tone that I get, it sets the pace of a direction of where this podcast is going.
Dig it.
And where that moments move toward the direction that it needs to go.
Yeah, dig it.
Apologize for my slow thinking, but it's part of Slo Mo Joe.
Slo Mo Joe's here for listening and talking, I can wager.
Try my best.
Yeah, dig it. So, what's the story, man?
I tell you, I'm thinking I'm ready for another one of my own.
Alright, let's do it.
It's part of this thing. What I wrote in my book, A Soul Warrior's Journey. And it might be an Apparitions of Warrior too, maybe a crossover, I don't know, but this was the poem that I opened with The Soul Warrior's Journey as Joseph Evaldi, supporting his book. Going through the city blind, trying to find who I was, yet nobody cared. They wanted to use me for their purposes. True pain lies within, because I cared, and I was left behind. Does anybody care about how I feel? I tried to do the right thing, yet I burn inside with pain. And I'm not doing the right thing. It's time to start caring for myself. Does anybody care about my insanity? Does anybody want to know why? I was hiding from who I am, and now I will find it. And I wrote this caption at the end of this for whoever reads A Soul Warrior's Journey. This is the story of Joseph Woods before he found his path.
Sweet. I liked it, man. It had soul.
Yeah.
It had soul, man. You got something good there.
So like I thought when I wrote this at a time in my life, I was going through a lot of discontent and a lot of frustration and a lot of anguish.
Sure.
That I had to try to find myself. I had to try to develop myself. And in finding those words, managed to go on to the great beyond yonder.
Yeah, well, it seems like a song of spiritual development. It seems like a song of conflict and resolution. And the vitality could be felt in the reading of it. I can definitely feel that, man. It was good. I dug it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So what's the story, Slo Mo Joe? Whose turn is it?
I say, I know, we were discussing about, we established with a poem, but if there is one poet, I would think, that you actually like, you want to discuss a little bit about it, and maybe that could explain and tie in why you became a poet in the first place?
Well, I have a lot to do with the poetry of Richard Andrew Olkusz, and I can tell you that he and I go way back. I've always been curious about the spiritual mystery of words. Richard Andrew Olkusz started the Timeless Fireside for a reason. That's the Olk N Us Network's quantum posy, certainly, but he believes in it's a thing that Joseph Evaldi believes in too. It's the squared circle. The concept of the fact that there is a ring that surrounds a cube, and that this is the ultimate conflict. And you have to have poetry to chronicle such conflict. So I'm about like these other two men I mentioned. I'm about the reality index. The telling of a funny story, the telling of a mysterious story, something spiritual, something true. That's really what first started me, was trying to attain a greater level of perspective. Because I've heard Richard Andrew Olkusz say this plenty of times, the guy they call Ricky Bearhart. The ultimate sense behind it is creativity to explore spiritual mystery, because the Creator wants us to create.
Right on, Twilight Cricket.
Dig it. So where are we going, man?
I'd say, let me discuss a little bit about how I got into poetry, what inspired me.
That's good.
I think at the time, reading a lot of poetry in school and class, I think one poet I should say, actually did it. And that was E. Cummings.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Not for knowing what he did and everything else, but for that he could break from tradition to carry out his words.
Dig it.
Which means he broke all boundaries from those words. And when he broke those boundaries, he turned the muse into something that was unexplainable, and he made it into a different reality than it was supposed to, just by his words. And that's what I remember. And when I when I was reading some of his stuff in classes and everything else,